I think. So again, thanks for everyone hanging in there. I think it got a little warm that last half hour. Maybe I ate too much lunch, but talk about the information. It's been really a fantastic day. For those of you who have been following Senate Bill 8, you're well aware that there's a lot of activity that's been going on the last couple of months, and in particular, the last week. It's my pleasure at this time to introduce the person at the forefront of all of that activity. So please join me in welcoming Senator Mike Folmer, Majority Chair, Senate Communications and Technology Committee.
Thank you. Now it's on. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate this opportunity to be here this afternoon. Before I get started, everybody wonders what this is. No, they're not broken. They actually click together. As I'm getting older, my arms have gotten shorter, and for the fine print stuff, so I need these. So I just always put that out of the way. But I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak with you about my vision on the future of healthcare, the road to 2020 and beyond. I especially appreciate your willingness to accommodate my Senate schedule today, and I understand you had a great day so far today, and I'll hope not to be too long and not spew too much hot air as we go forward. But given the outstanding speakers that you have heard from today, I have a great appreciation for Abraham Lincoln's words from the Gettysburg Address, and said, "The world will little note nor long remember what we say here." And I'm sure it would be hard for me to add to the information you've already received. At the same time, however, it is also important that we fulfill Lincoln's sentiments on the unfinished work they have fought here thus far so nobly advanced. As I look down today's agenda, you have identified a multitude of issues that will impact the future of healthcare as we march towards 2020 and beyond, including technology, health information exchanges, and electronic health records and other patient information. For the past 3 years, it's been my honor and privilege to serve as chairman of the Senate Communication Technology Committee. And during my tenure as chair, we have considered a number of issues, including the future of broadband in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, state procurement laws and practices, the public television network, federal real ID and other privacy issues, FIX, the Pennsylvania Health Information Exchange, KIMBER, the Keystone Initiative for Network-Based Education and Research, the impacts of research on communication and technology, JNet, the Commonwealth's Justice Network, Act 183 broadband deployment, co-location of cell phone towers, and last but certainly not least, the electronic sharing of patient records and other health information, the now famous Senate Bill 8. Now, during all these committee deliberations, I've tried to develop a purpose or a vision for Pennsylvania's communication technology issues. And while much has been accomplished, much more really remains and needs to be done. Some of this work can be seen in the draft white paper that I wrote that's posted on my website, that's senatorfolmer.com, entitled Vision 2020, Communications and Technology. The goal of this white paper is to identify the assets of our great Commonwealth in which we live and enjoys, and the obstacles our state government has erected in the road to 2020, the third decade of the 21st century. Now, to my surprise, people were very helpful in listing the assets our Commonwealth enjoys and many of the other obstacles the state government has erected in the road to progress. However, the recommendations to take advantage of our assets and overcome our obstacles are rather weak. Most people simply advocate more money, more tax money. To me, money is not the best and only answer, especially when government resources are so scarce and so tight. So I would rather focus on another great individual. His name was George Bernard Shaw, whose quote Robert F. Kennedy used as his theme for his 1968 run for president. And I quote, and it says, "Some people see things as they are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and say, why not?" As we go forward. Pennsylvania has so much to offer, ladies and gentlemen. We are the Keystone State. We live within 100 million people in an overnight's drive. And we just need to simply figure out how to unlock and open this potential to create the careers, not just jobs. Jobs will get you that first car when you're in high school. Jobs will get you through college. Jobs will get you in between the careers that you want to do. We need the careers in Pennsylvania. And I think it's in not only in this field, but in other areas in which Pennsylvania could so capably attract those great careers that we need. And my Vision 2020 focuses on 5 key areas. First is our capital availability. Second is government red tape. Third is talent, technology, and taxes. Hopefully, these are the issues we will be able to focus on to make Pennsylvania a leader in communications and technology in the 21st century. Just as our Commonwealth was in the beginning of the 20th century, you realize that after World War I, Pennsylvania had the third largest economy in the world. And our goal is now to put us back in that great position, put people back to work in those careers. These are the goals that have guided me as the chairman of the Senate Communication and Technology Committee. And hopefully you have seen this vision in the committee's work. Given the partnership I have had with many of you and your organizations, let me briefly comment on our mutual efforts to bring one aspect of our communications and technology to our Commonwealth. And of course, I'm talking about Senate Bill 8, the electronic sharing of patient records and other health information. To me, the question of electronically sharing patient records and other health information was never a question of it. It's always been the question of how and when. FIX, the Pennsylvania Health Information Exchange, never answered my basic questions. How much is it going to cost, and is it sustainable? And thirdly, I wasn't really too pleased in the procurement process of that whole ordeal. It was just, we were rushing to judgment. The lack of these answers to these questions and the manner in which a vendor was chosen and a contract signed is why I really opposed moving forward with FIX. Now, after FIX's contract was canceled, I felt it was my responsibility to lead the efforts to ensure the goal of electronically sharing patient records and other health information could be realized with openness, transparency, and accountability. That's why I surprised many when I said I would support an opt-out system. You're in the network unless you want to opt out of it, while some thought such a position would be contrary to my less government and no mandates philosophy, which is true. I heard the message from you and from other health information exchange advocates. Opt-in could not and would not work. Opt-out was a better approach if we were going to establish a truly workable network. Of course, this is also why Senate Bill 8 is so prescriptive in its approach to establishing an opt-out registry with specific guidelines and procedures to provide for an easy process for patients to opt out. Although time is running out to get Senate Bill 8 passed and enacted into law by the end of 2011-2012 session of the General Assembly, we have gotten to the point where I'm seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's just not a train. We have gotten the number of outstanding issues to a manageable number, and fortunately, most of the remaining issues are technical in nature, definitions consistently among sections, and tie-ins to existing state and federal laws. And there appears to be a middle ground for the unresolved policy issues, things like liability and penalties for the improper use of information. If we are successful in resolving these issues, the plan is to amend Senate Bill 8 in the Senate Appropriations Committee, which, by the way, is already done and passed out of that committee, report it to the full Senate. It's on the calendar now, and I was just told by the Senate Majority Leader that we're going to get it done. Now, knock on wood, but we'll get it out of the Senate. We've got to get it over the House. We're going to have a limited session. I believe we'll have the budget done by June 13th moving forward. And if we don't have this thing done by the end of June, it won't happen. So I got to get it over the House ASAP. And hopefully we can get it through clean and get it to the governor's desk to get it signed. So while we have worked to keep the House up to date on this very important issue, I cannot say with any certainty what, if anything, the House will do with SB 8. I'm told that they'll run it. But the purpose is, are we going to be able to run it clear? So if nothing's done soon, we're not going to do a lame duck session. So we got to get it over to the House. Now, should the House and Senate Bill 8 amend Senate Bill 8, the questions will be, and when and what is the purpose? If they offer extensive amendments but do not return to the Senate by the early fall, and again, let me just qualify that, nothing's going to happen if we don't have it done by June, plain and simple. But I'm told that we're going to get it done by our leadership. I think it's a priority. If you look at the co-sponsorships of that bill, I have both Senator Dominic Pileggi, who's the majority chair, and I have Senator Joseph Scarnati, who is the pro temp. Both are co-sponsors, right? They're 1 and 2, right behind me. And we also have the minority chair of the committee, Senator Farnese, is on the bill also, and he's number 4. So we have the key people that are involved to get this thing moving, and I believe we can actually get it started. you have to understand we're not going to want to do a lame duck session, and that's why. So on that note, I'm going to stop here, and if I can answer any of your questions, may I have that you may have about Senate Bill 8 and our ongoing efforts to get a bill signed into law. I'm here to answer those questions or any other issues that you would like to talk about if I'm capable to answer those questions. On that note, I have the first question in the back, sir.
Yes, I'd like to address the discussion of the hold harmless clause and the relationship of liability in terms of if information is misused. Has it been addressed? And if it has, what's the outcome? If it's not going to be there, what's the next stage in terms of its discussion?
Well, as far as the home harmless, we addressed the issue, Fred, correct?
The short answer to your question is yes and no. Sovereign immunity applies to the to-be-established authority, but it does not apply to anything else. The reason for the delay is the plaintiff's bar believes there are issues that are going to adversely affect them, their clients, and medical malpractice. And we don't believe those issues are valid, but it's taken a little bit of time to convince them.
Now, I have to say that I need to apologize to y'all. I'm presently going through cancer treatment. And so I was in, and this past month has been really tough on me. I was in the hospital for 2 major surgeries just this month. And so I've been, let's just say, I've been a little out of contact on some of this. So I just wanted to show you something. This is the work Fred has done. And these are just since all the amendments. This is how thick the folder is as we're trying to move this process forward. This has really been a long and windy road going forward. But I think one in which I think we've taken the position that we wanted to make sure that it was open, that it was transparent, and that was accountable. And while maybe not everybody's going to be totally happy with the bill, I think it's going to be an outstanding model for the state of Pennsylvania and for others to even look at, not because it's my bill, but because of all the hard work and listening to all the players, all those who will be involved in this issue, and listening to them and making sure that we not only have a position that an organism that will actually work, but one that will be sustainable into the future and one that can grow and expand upon. Any other questions? Looks like everybody wants to go home. It's Wednesday afternoon. You're being kind to me. I thank you so much. No, I'm just kidding.
Senator Folmer, if there are no other questions, I would like to, with this whole group, express the appreciation from the Pennsylvania eHealth Initiative as well as the Hospital Association for the efforts that both you and Fred have had to advance the legislation, Senate Bill 8, to create an authority that would allow for those who will benefit from the exchange to actually govern the exchange and set the priorities.
Well, I appreciate that. And as someone who is and I am, folks, I'm a least government type of guy. I'd like to stay out of your face as much as possible. But as a person who got to see firsthand the importance of this initiative, I really believe that this is very, very important. I believe this will help. If we do this thing right, this will help reduce the cost of health care, number one. I think it will be key to health care reform in any fashion that as we're moving forward. And I think it's important because just going through the recent treatments I've gone through and having to carry all my medications and having to repeat all those things over and over and over and over again is like, yes, I'm Mike Folmer, 1256. Yes, I'm Mike Folmer, 1256. Yes, this is it would be really nice to know that it could pop up and go baba boom, baba bang, and it's right there. So it's all taken care of. So it's like, wow, that'd be great. And I do see that, and I appreciate, and I want to tell you something. As hard as this was, and Fred knows this far better than me because as I showed you that folder that he has and that he brought along, this has really been hard. But I will say this, and now I'm going to try to defend myself a little bit going forward. We started this way back when, Fred, on this initiative. And when we presented it to the administration, I wanted to make sure this was getting done because folks, I can't believe I'm actually saying this because I'm like I said, a less government type person, but I don't want to lose that 17 million that we have coming forward to help us get this thing going. And so we've done our part. We really have. We've gone forward. We've met with everybody. We've had the committee hearings. We had the meetings of the players. We've listened. We've put it into we have the proof. It's right there into the bill. We've made a bill that I believe is now very workable. Now I gotta just get the replies from the administration, because that's where we're coming down to the nitty gritty. But I was told today, and I mean this. I went right up to Dominic Pileggi on the floor because this is how important it is to me. I said, Dominic, I said, it's on the calendar. I said, we got to get it over the House. We got to get this thing done. He put his hands on my shoulder and said, slow down, Mike. Everything's going to be good. We're going to get this done. So hopefully that will take place. I believe it will. He's not a Heisman type of guy. He makes sure that it will be done right, and I think we'll have this thing done on time and finally. Yes, sir.
I've got a question for you, Senator. I just want to understand some of the background and the thinking behind the current structure. The National Governors Association and others have said that they felt there were three different approaches. One was a sort of a public agency approach to creating health information exchange. Was a public-private relationship. There's a couple examples of that. And then there's purely private. It seems that the Pennsylvania is, at this stage of development, leaning more towards a government agency-type leadership approach. And in driving the process and organizing it, and not completely or exclusively, or excluding all the others, but it seems that the state coordinator and whatnot is sort of driving the functionality and activity. So, first, is that correct? And second,
well, I don't know if that's totally correct. I think it's a hybrid. It's a combination. It's a use of both our government and allowing the private sector. It's sort of like a public-private type of cooperation in moving forward. We felt that because it's going to be hopefully a statewide initiative, that the government would be involved, of course, but I wanted to make sure that the private side was also a major player in it also. So I think it's more of an equal mix rather than just say it's a totally government-driven, like some other states have done. Ours is more of a hybrid. It would be almost sort of like we're trying to do in building of highways. They have a public-private partnership where they allow somebody to come in and do it and charge, and then we charge a toll on it or something along those lines. But this is more along the lines of that type of scenario. It's a hybrid type. Everybody wants to go home. Sounds like you had a great day, though. Listen, I'm going to say thank you very much, and a lot of the folks in this room were part of putting together Senate Bill 8. And as I said, I'm hoping we get it done on time. I'm still a little nervous about that going forward, but I really appreciate this time to come together with you folks to talk to. Yes, sir.
Can you give us a little flavor of what you see as the resistance? I mean, it seems to me to be
the number one resistance right now. I'll come right to the table. It's the Trial Lawyers Association. They're seeing this as somehow we're affecting. There's no tort reform in this bill whatsoever. I mean, it does not change any existing laws that would affect them whatsoever. This is not a suppository of information. This is more along the lines of just a vehicle to disseminate information from a hospital to a hospital, from a doctor to whatever, and so forth. The biggest holdback right now, the reason why that bill didn't get fast-tracked onto the calendar for this week, was that the Trial Bar Association had some issues, and they throw some weight around. And plain and simple, they want to know the inside game. That's the nature of that beast. Excuse me? Well, we have already addressed those issues. I got to give Robert Torres, the secretary. He answered all their questions. I talked to my co-chair, Larry Finese, Senator Finese, and he's addressing those same issues. He's on board with this bill 100%. and he's talking to he's a trial bar guy, so he's talking to him also. I think they were fishing, and I think that they were just looking for something. There's nothing in here that could possibly harm the Trial Bar Association. But recently, last year, we just passed some joint and several legislation, some tort reform legislation, which they were not happy with. So I guess they're being nervous Nelly right now. But I believe we have this thing worked out, as Dominic put his hands on my shoulders to calm me down. And I'm on prednisone, so it's not easy to calm me down. To let you know that Mike Folmer on steroids is like the Energizer Bunny on atomic power. I'll be honest with you. I'm like, oh, like I needed, something to distract my attention. And I apologize for that. So every once in a while I have what is known as a chemo moment. It's actually easy to blame that on. It's loss of memory could be easily the other thing. But so no, that's the only resistance as right now. I believe the administration's on board. I just got to get them to pick up the pace a little bit, and we should be okay. And it's on the calendar. We got the leadership that says they're going to move it. We're not hearing too much resistance over the other side. What you could do as advocates, as grassroots advocates, call in to your legislators, call in to them, let them know we got to get this done because we have to be done by June, and then we can move forward and get in the governor's desk, have him sign it, and hey, we made a big leap here. Yes, sir.
How much is there sort of waiting to see what the Supreme Court does?
We're moving forward with this, with the health information exchange, with this portion of it, because I don't think this affects anything that they do. Whatever the Supreme Court does is what they're going to do. This is going to be, I think, a wonderful vehicle that's going to help patients. It's going to help doctors. I think it's going to help cut down on unnecessary testing because they got to cover themselves against the Trial Bar Association, and as we're going forward. And I think that this would be a great way to help reduce the cost of healthcare in the long term. I think this would be a wonderful thing, and I was never against the idea of it going back, because I was a roadblock. I was the one that got stopped in its tracks. But folks, it was wrong. The way they were doing it, the way they did the contracts, and they could not answer any questions. There was no plan. There was just, let's grab the money and run, and then if it happens, it happens, and so forth. I wanted to have a workable, real plan that had all the players in place. We had the discussions to the best of our ability going forward, and I feel very comfortable that everybody's voice was heard. Again, as in any bill, there's never any perfect bill out there, but this is going to be as close, I think, as we're going to get when you're dealing with so many different groups and so forth.
Please join me in thanking Senator Folmer and Fred.
Thank you very much.
For taking time from their very, very busy schedule and for all the work that they have done to improve health care in Pennsylvania. Thank you so much,
thank
Senator.
You.
Buddy, do you want to come on up? We are about to wind up this conference, and we just have a couple of things we wanted to mention. First off, we want to thank everybody for being in attendance and for all of the excellent questions that you posed to our speakers. But let's give a round of applause to the speakers that we had today that really shared a great deal of insights. Okay. I'd also would like to thank our sponsors, again, DSS, EMC Squared, and Information Builders, who've helped provide additional support for this, and please give them a round of applause as well. And I would be remiss if I didn't remind everybody that following this particular event, please join us over at the Best Western. The information is in your program for a way to continue the conversation, network with colleagues. But again, thank you. And I think there's also a group that needs a special recognition. Dr. Just Garassi and Buddy Gillespie, who put together this program. So please thank them for all the work that they have done for putting on an outstanding program. Buddy, you get the last word.
I think the last word, and you just said it, Gus and I started working on this program back in December, and I could always count every Monday morning at 9 o'clock, I would see Gus's name appear on my cell phone. And in between that, we were emailing and tweeting and working with all these great speakers that we have here today. And if you ever get a chance to work with Gus, jump on it because he's great, and we had a great time doing it. Thank you, Gus. Thanks, everybody.
And one other thing, if you remember, you're going to be getting an email probably in the next, within the next week for sure, that will have a link to a SurveyMonkey for feedback. This is a joint meeting that we've done with CPAHIMSS and PAeHI. We're looking for feedback for future activities. As Sharon mentioned when we first opened up, PAeHI is going on the road. We'll be in September in Philadelphia and in Pittsburgh, be looking for that. Buddy, I know for CPAHIMSS is looking already at an event in September, and I think Western Pennsylvania HIMSS has already contacted us to see if we can do some more joint work. So we're continuing to collaborate to build those partnerships, as our speakers said today. So wishing you safe travels and have a wonderful week and holiday.